It's Monday, March 12th, 2018. And it's time for Vanran10 on sports. We're going to talk about the NCAA tournament. Why? Because the brackets are out. Am I going to do a bracket? No, because I'm terrible at them. Terrible. Can't do brackets. I'm always one of the worst. I can get pretty close on the Final Four, but I have a hard time making the predictions on the lowest seed that's really going to do anything. But I still try. With my friends and stuff like that, I'll tell them, but I won't fill out a bracket. I get discouraged very quickly when I see that the bracket has fallen apart on me, even though most of America, the brackets fall apart very quickly when the 14th seed that you thought was going to win loses, but the 14th seed you thought was going to get killed beats the team that you had going to the Elite Eight. And it's just like, ugh. So yeah. So anybody who's ever filled out a bracket, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, we're going to start with the South. And in the South, your top seeds are Virginia and Cincinnati at 1 and 2, Tennessee at 3, Arizona at 4, Kentucky at 5. Out of the South, none of those teams seem that strong to me. They really don't. Tennessee, way too overrated. There's no way that Tennessee should be a 3 seed. There's a couple of 3 seeds in these brackets that I think is just way overrated. Tennessee is one of them. Every time I would see Tennessee, it's like they were losing. So they may have an abundance of wins, but I don't think it's over quality. But then again, I don't think the SEC is the most quality basketball conference. I just don't. But if you get a lot of wins in there, I mean, they do have Kentucky, but Kentucky is a 5 seed. Tennessee's a 3. So I think Kentucky's always a threat, but I have a hard time believing they may have a hard time even with Davidson in the first round. But I'll still push Kentucky past because of Calipari and his coaching. You got basically a throwaway game like Creighton and Kansas State. Neither one of those teams is going to go on further than whoever they beat in that game, because their next game is going to be against the University of Virginia. University of Virginia, the only reason I have a problem with them, I have a problem with teams that are defensive-oriented. Teams like Wisconsin, teams like the University of Virginia, Princeton, teams like that slow the pace down, that are very defensive-oriented. They do pretty well in the tournament if they're good enough, but they never seem to get over the hump, because once you start to get to that Elite Eight, Final Four range, you need to be able to put, you need to be able to score. Because if you can't hold the other team down, if the other team gets hot, and remember, the other team is in the Elite Eight, Final Four, that's a good team. If they get hot, a team like Virginia or Wisconsin, they have a hard time matching up because they play a slow-paced game, and they're very defensive-oriented, and they don't really have the shooters. So Virginia is really good, but at some point they're going to have to score 75, 80 points to beat an opponent. Can they do it against a good opponent? I think they can score 75 or 80 points against, UMBC, but I don't think they can really do it once they get closer to the top of this against maybe a Cincinnati or, like I said, to me, this is the weakest bracket. It's the weakest bracket because Kentucky's not strong. Tennessee, I think, is overrated. Miami, I think, is a little underrated. And if I had to pick a team that might come out of this that's a sleeper team, Georgia State might be your sleeper team, because Cincinnati, I think, is one of those teams that's going to be either really, really good or they're going to get eliminated early. Cincinnati, it's like, will they have that Final Four run, or is this team going to get blitzed in the first or second round? Georgia State could beat them because Cincinnati does not have this group. They haven't been high-level tournament people in a while. I mean, there was a day where the University of Cincinnati, you took them seriously in the tournament. Lately, not so much. But if I had to pick a team that was going to come out of that, it's hard to go against Kentucky. I don't believe in Arizona. I definitely don't believe in Tennessee. But Virginia's definitely the best team in that region. So I'm going to go chalk and go number 1 seed, Virginia. Now, Xavier is the number 1 seed in the West. Xavier's it doesn't play in a big conference, or maybe they play in the Big East, but the Big East isn't what the Big East used to be. I like Xavier, though. I don't know why I have kind of a soft spot for that school, but I like seeing that they're a number 1 seed. I would love to see that team go really, really far. I don't think that NC Central or Texas Southern, when they win their play-in game, is going to get past Xavier. I don't see a 16 beating a 1. North Carolina is a 2 seed. North Carolina had like 8 losses this year, and they're a 2 seed. But if you look, the top 10 teams, I think of the top 10 to 15 teams, there were tons of them that had 7 or 8 losses. I mean, can you think of a time when your top 25 was so populated with teams with 7 or 8 losses? That's what a lot of people are saying. There is no one dominant team. If you get hot, you can win this thing, and you can win it from just about anywhere because there is no dominant team. There are the teams that we expect to be there, like North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky. Those teams are there. Michigan State's there, but nobody is dominant. Nobody has shown at any point, Villanova, nobody has shown that they are unbeatable. So it's going to be a fun tournament, and brackets are going to get destroyed because some of these smaller teams may do some damage because these bigger teams, they're not as good as they are normally. So these smaller teams that have maybe a few more juniors and seniors might be able to take advantage of some of these teams that have one and dones, and maybe real young teams that might have more talent, but they just don't have the experience. Gonzaga, I always have a soft spot for Gonzaga. They're a 4 seed. The 2 seed in this is North Carolina. North Carolina to me is confusing because sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really bad. But I love North Carolina Tar Heels. The 3 seed Michigan, they won their Big Ten tournament, which a lot of people are kind of saying maybe they don't deserve to be there, but they were playing really good before they got into the tournament. But they still had a couple of silly losses, but they did beat Michigan State. Ohio State is a 5 seed. Once again, overrated. Ohio State is just not that good. Your 8 and 9 is Missouri and Florida State. Once again, throwaway game. Xavier is probably going to get through the first 2 rounds pretty easy. UNC Greensboro could be very dangerous. But once again, if you're looking at a lower seed, Providence has some history of being pretty good in tournaments. But if I'm going to go out of this conference, I'm going to look at Xavier. Once again, going chalk. Number one seed. I'd love to see Michigan or UNC do it, but Michigan just doesn't have all the horses. They're playing really good now, but they've been off for a little bit because after the Big Ten tournament is over, they've been sitting for a while. And North Carolina, I just don't believe in that team. I just don't. I would love to see a march. I'm not a Duke fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like UNC. But I don't think they have enough horses to take this all the way. I think number 1 seed Xavier. If you want a dark horse, like I said, go with the 13th seed UNC Greensboro. I think they can get by Gonzaga. Once again, I like Gonzaga as well, but they are not always the best when tournament time starts. A lot of high hopes, and then they get into the tournament and they flounder a little bit. Last year they were pretty good, or the year before, one of those they were really good, but most of the times they kind of flounder around. So UNC Greensboro might be a team to watch out for. And now we're going to go to the Midwest bracket. And I'll tell you right now, you got Kansas at the top. You got Duke at number 2, Michigan State at number 3, Auburn number 4, Clemson number 5. That is not a strong 5. Kansas is strong, Duke is strong, and Michigan State is strong. In fact, I'm not sure why Michigan State is behind Duke. To me, Michigan State is a little bit better. I think those two should have been flip-flopped. And out of this, this is my thing. If I pick Michigan State to go to the Final Four, they will lose in the first or second round. If I pick them to lose in the first or second round because I believe this is one of Izzo's bad years, they will get to the Elite 8 Final Four. So all you Michigan State fans, I apologize right now, but I am picking Michigan State to come out of the Midwest bracket into the Final Four. I believe in Izzo. I think that team is really good. And I think that Kansas maybe is not quite as good. Michigan State, I think, will just be able to. Duke has way too many young players, and Grayson is going to do something stupid because Grayson is an idiot. He's going to do something stupid that gets a flagrant or a technical or something, and he's going to cost his team late because he's just a moron. Grayson is an idiot. So if you're counting on Duke going very far, if they don't put Grayson on the court, you might have a chance. But Krzyzewski has not shown a lot of intelligence because he keeps putting Grayson on the floor. You can tell I don't like Duke, and I don't like Grayson either. So I am rooting against them. So they'll probably win their first round game. Their second round game, you're looking at Rhode Island and Oklahoma. They'll probably blow through whoever makes it through there. But Kansas at the top, they're not going to lose to the Penn Quakers. You got Seton Hall versus NC State. Once again, 8-9 seed, throw them away. They're not going very far. Clemson versus New Mexico State. I am having a real hard time, but if you're going to look at a lower seed that may go far, look at Syracuse. Syracuse has to do one of the play-in games, but I believe they'll beat Arizona State. They'll go up against TCU. I think TCU is overrated as a 6th seed, so that puts Syracuse into the next spot. Michigan State will beat Bucknell. And if I'm wrong, because of course I picked Michigan State to go to the Final Four, that means that Syracuse will beat Michigan State in the second round because I picked them to go to the Final Four, which means Michigan State is doomed. And I hate that. But so look for Syracuse because of my prediction of Michigan State going to the Final Four as a low seed that could go pretty far out of the Midwest bracket. Now, we're going to come up to the East bracket, which I feel has just a lot of weak teams. Villanova should walk to the Final Four with ease out of this conference. Purdue, way overrated. I'm sorry. Purdue, they'll win their first round game, but I believe they'll lose to either Arkansas or Butler in that second round. I think Butler will get by, and then Butler's going to beat Purdue. I'm sorry. I just don't believe in Purdue in one way or at all. Texas Tech is a 3 seed. Way overrated. Way overrated. Virginia Tech and Alabama. These are an 8-9 seed that are pretty good, but they're going to run into Villanova in the next round, and that's going to kill their momentum. West Virginia to 5 seed, I think, is a little low. Wichita State, I think, is seeded about right. I just don't know where you would put Texas Tech. I just don't think they're a 3 seed. Maybe Wichita State should move up. West Virginia should move up, and I think maybe Texas Tech should be a 5. If you want a low seed out of this that could come out, Murray State. Murray State's going to take on West Virginia. Remember, West Virginia is a defensive-minded team. I think they call them Press Virginia as kind of a nickname. So I think that Murray State can definitely get past them. Wichita State Marshall would be the game that they would play the winner of. Wichita State plays pretty good basketball, but Murray State could be that team that you're not appreciating enough how good they can be. They'll get past Wichita State and make it all the way maybe to the Sweet 16, Elite 8. But once they run into Villanova, they're doomed. So they may only get to about the Sweet 16, and then they'll get beat by Villanova. So, but look for Murray State to give a strong showing in this. But Villanova's coming out of this bracket, and I don't think Villanova's going to have much of a chance. So I've got 3 number 1 seeds and 1 number 3 seed, and that poor number 3 seed is a team that every time I pick them to go to the Final Four, they get beat in the first or second round. So as it sits, Villanova versus Michigan State. I say Villanova beats them. I just think Villanova is better. And then you're going to look at Virginia versus Xavier. I think Xavier will beat the more defensive-minded team in Virginia. I think Xavier will come out of this. It will be Xavier versus Villanova. That's an interesting final game right there. Villanova's going to do it again. Villanova's going to get another championship. That's just the way it looks to me. Villanova, if any team's probably going to be able to, because their bracket is so easy, I think that they'll be pretty well rested by the time they get to the Final Four. And I believe they'll take this championship. So, who do you think's going to win the championship? Do you think I'm nuts? Of course you do, because you're going, my bracket looks better than yours. So go ahead and tell me who you think your Final Four is going to be. I'd love to see it. To all the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.